We are live.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vancity Beats, Eats, and
more.
How long are we gonna
I
do
don't
this?
know. So that was a nod one
Yo,
moment
that
right
was
there.
that was like I'm gonna keep going as long as you're gonna keep going.
Yo, you're taking the lead right now.
Oh my
Hey,
gosh, what's up, y'all? If
it
you are
do?
tuning in right now, my name is Kazi. I'm joined today by the one and only Adewolf, and
Thank
we
you.
are hanging out in this. I mean, I want to say it's luxurious because of the way this pillow feels right now.
It
You
feels
know,
that way.
it's a Monday night. We're filming our second live stream of the day. This is episode 13?
Hustle.
14. Can't even keep track, fam. And we out here on the unceded, stolen lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations, what is colonially known as Vancouver, BC, and what we like to call Vancity. Bomb, bomb. And we're in a really cool space. Tell us about this space, Adewolf. Where have we found ourselves?
We are right on Hastings. So I co-own a studio with some of my crew and part of the collective I have, which is Super Tribe, and also Super Tribe, and also Rainscombe Filmworks, which is like a multimedia studio. They do videos, audio, and yeah. So this is our space. We kind of do community events here. Also like turn up parties and stuff.
On the low.
On the low. Don't.
Yeah.
We just it's a rehearsal space, production studio, a video studio. We do podcasts here.
It's basically a playground for creatives.
Yes.
Because what I see in front of me is just like so many fun activities in every corner, from guitars and instruments to a lot of buttons, a lot of knobs, and different keys to play with.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really inspiring space.
Yeah.
And I'm really stoked today that you made time for us,
I'm
that we
glad.
could chat, we get to know you.
I know. We met each other. You came. I impromptu came to the party we're doing.
Okay, which party?
The New Year's party.
No, that was this
Oh
recent time.
yeah. This recent that we
But
scheduled
do you remember
this thing.
the first time
The
we met?
first time we met, I feel like we met. I know most likely it would have to be Sid, Pattern Nation.
Really?
I feel like
I was telling Jamal, I feel like it was a brother Jason connection.
interesting.
Yeah, like I feel like he brought you around, but also, I mean, that was a time where it was just so busy with just like arts and culture and events and things happening. And like, yeah, I would just see you in these moments where you would pull up.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that I actually didn't know for the longest time that you did music.
Oh, interesting.
And, the pandy happened, all of us like, what was that?
Yeah.
And then we reemerged and I came back to Vancouver. And then the next time I saw you, I was like, okay, someone has changed their flavor. And like, you were really so expressive of yourself, and then you were on the bill for Winter Arts Fest.
Yes,
And you played.
yeah.
And then I saw you because I was working. So I was
Yeah.
running around, but then I caught you for part of your set.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, snap. That's well, I only ever knew you as Dosh, right?
Exactly. Dosh is the name, the Lolo.
The Lolo.
Lolo
People don't
name.
know that.
Yeah.
You can't say that. This is Adewolf.
Yeah.
And then I would just like started to pay attention to your music, and then
interesting.
you know how it is in Vancity or just like in life when you start to run into somebody over and over again, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
what's going on with you?
Yeah.
And then
true.
I ended up at your New Year's party.
Yeah.
And then-
Crazy.
Which was so fun. It was like there was a jam space going on. That's where I met some of the tribe.
Yeah.
A bunch of musicians, very talented, young, and just like passionate.
Yeah.
And I had a really good time. So thank you for
Great.
having me.
No, fun. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. I think definitely first time I feel like I saw you was either at the alleyway party. You know
Like a
those
VMF?
parties? No, not VMF.
Public Disco.
Public disco. I feel like I
Oh.
saw you there, just like running something. Yeah.
Back
So-
then I was emceeing a lot of those.
So I think that was when I first the first encounter, but not like introduction. Then I guess,
it.
you know, the city is small too. So
Yeah.
I feel like people who have like very similar circles kind of end up.
Yeah,
kind
you
of-
end up crossing paths and
Yeah,
intersecting.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm just stoked on the music that you've been making.
Thank you.
I'm
Appreciate
stoked on
that.
how you choose to express yourself. Like, as you know, as you can probably tell, we both just appreciate style,
Yes,
the
please.
fashion,
The fashion.
you know. But yeah, in this next hour, I want to chat with you about all the things. And maybe we can start with, you know, the very beginning. Young man.
Young man. Young man.
And, you know, more importantly, it's like, in order for us to understand who sits in front of us today, like, what do we need to know about your childhood or about how you grew up? Especially because it wasn't here.
It wasn't here, yeah.
Far
yeah.
away from here.
Yeah, so I guess I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah, I come from like a family of, you know, 9 kids. 9 of us. Was always
It's
a
like
party.
Filipinos, man.
Yeah. Not to even talk of the extended family. My God, it was always a party.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was kind of nice to be. I think growing up too, I really didn't have like people around me who did like artistic things. It was mainly like, you know, like my mom's a nurse, my dad's like he's a businessman. And, you know, my siblings, I have a siblings, a doctor, and like, you know, so I guess I ended up, you know, starting to do arts because of people in my household. They are artful, like they're pieces of like artfulness in everyone, like just seeing so much craziness and drama in the house.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it was just kind of nice to just be in a full house of like different ideas and different like perspectives, and you know, you would clash with some people or like, you know, and just like the love and the community of living in like being with a large family. So yeah, Lagos, I think growing up in Lagos was, or like, it's just like Lagos is a freaking party. It's a, you know.
It's a huge city.
You know, it's a huge, is a condensed city. I wouldn't say maybe it's as big as like, I feel like, you know, Toronto is big, you know.
Yeah. But more spread out.
More
maybe.
spread out, yeah. Lagos is big, but I'll say where it is one of the most populated cities in the world. So it's like so many people, and it's like go, go, go. It's kind of like, you know, people say it's like the New York of Africa, I would say, because of like, you know, just the way people move. There's always something happening. You gotta
always a car honk.
Oh my God, the car honk, yeah. I know here it's like you don't even hear car. I'm like, I remember when I first moved to Canada and I started driving, and you know, I just got used to my Nigerian like car. I was like, dude, why are you honking the car? It's like you only honk when there's like something crazy is happening or you're about to get into an accident. I'm like, oh, to be honest, in Lagos, people honk to just communicate. Hey,
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hi, how's it going?
And it's so aggressive out here.
yeah.
They're like, I'm mad. Hear me roar,
Yeah,
right?
like,
But
yeah.
like out there, it's like, excuse me, I'm coming through.
Yeah,
Beep, beep.
yeah.
Hey, I'm behind you. Dee, dee.
Exactly. So yeah. So I guess kind of maybe more so the music part of things. Maybe going into that. I think growing up, I think I was just always one of those kids in school that just used to be like in class trying to rap, freestyle. You know.
Since you were how young?
I feel like since I was like, maybe like 14, 13. Yeah, because then maybe I started getting exposed to, my brother used to bring home like, you know, Biggie. Then I guess we were using CDs and shit. So,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Apologies. We used to use CDs. And
Who would be on these CDs?
yo, Biggie.
Yes.
Biggie was like,
I'm a big
you
Biggie
know,
fan.
Ready to Die.
Yeah.
Also like Nas, you
Yes.
know, with Nostradamus.
So is older brother.
My older brother.
Where do you sit on the
So
line
I'm
of
number
9?
8. I'm like I'm the one of the babies of the house.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, I have a younger sister. So yeah, like Jay-Z, like then, like, you know, Jay-Z, and also like a lot of, they were like in Nigeria, Fela Kuti, who's like was someone like, it was a taboo to have him in your house.
Really?
Yeah, because like growing up, like because of how, he was someone who was so like eccentric. Like, you know, I can come from a very Christian, you know, household. So my mom's like, fella, like, I don't want him, because, you know, this is a guy who had how many wives? Like, I can't even remember how many wives he had. He used to perform with like 10 or 12 of his wives. And basically on stage.
Oh my gosh, I've never known this.
Oh yeah, his wives were his backup singers and dancers.
I just only know his music, but never knew this about his
Oh
life.
man,
That's crazy.
Fela Kuti is like, he's pretty much like the Bob Marley of Nigeria. He's like, and also his activism, like, you know, he had the Calacuta Republic. He was at some point in his life running for, you know, political roles and stuff. And, you know, his mom, like, he used to, because then in Nigeria we had like a military regime before it transitioned into democracy. So in a lot of ways, there wasn't, you know, the politics in then, like, you know, the corruption was so, you know, such in the veins of Nigeria. And a lot of times, like, you know, now we see there's a lot of disparity within, like, the poor and the rich people. But then it started to build a lot more because of, like, you have these military men who basically what they said was yes. And with his music, he used it as a means of activism. And, like, he would call out, like, politicians who were, like, stealing money and like using money for the wrong means, and he would like do all these things. But the whole thing of his whole thing again was he also believed in traditional forms of worship. Like he especially like with the colonialism, like there was a lot of like antagonizing of, you know, our traditional means of, you know, worship. Like I'm Yoruba, so like he embraced that. You know, so he would do like some kind of ritualistic things in the way he would like before performances, his lifestyle. Also on stage too, he had like a lot of sexual energy. You know, the way he dressed with like no top on, tight pants. Like he had like, so he was like the person like, our parents were like, don't be like Fela Kuti.
And then we're like, all like, yeah.
I know. Then I was like, even then I was like super scared but my brother would like have CDs in the house and would like play. So sorry I know I went on this tangent.
No, that's great. You gave me a big history lesson just now, and a lot of parallels I'm making to what I've been learning about the Philippines. You know, like the corruption in government. Same story.
Interesting.
We could go into it, you know.
My
but
goodness.
Yeah, I really relate to all of that, and just like coming from our parents' generation, that is kind of influenced by the colonizers, you know, especially the faith and religions they passed on. Like, also grew up in a very Christian Catholic Filipino upbringing. But yeah, in where we're at here and now, it's like our generation seems to embrace, you know, spirituality, especially going back to more indigenous, what was of the land, you know. But yeah, that's
crazy.
I really love you talking about all your musical influences and him being a huge one.
Yeah, I think maybe for him too, it was something that grew on me later on, because then I was like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be listening to these kind of, like, you know, I was like super paranoid playing it. But the more my brother would like, I think I would observe him. He would like sit down for hours, just have the music playing and just be like in a meditative state. And I was like, why is he so like connect, like what connects him to the music? Like I'd never seen someone like listen to music that way, or you would listen to music, because Nigeria is a very like musical city in the sense that you're, you know, it's funny, it's like, you know, the way like the average person advertises like street products, like you have the shoemaker, he has this thing he makes with this sound. When you wake up in the morning, I feel like in Lagos, you are introduced through sound. I feel like you have this guy who goes around is a cobbler. We have like local cobblers. They go around the city. He has this thing he does. I still remember the way it would ring. And that is the way he would like advertise him walking around, so people would hear the sound. Obviously, there's the usual ice cream truck, and there's like then in the morning we have these bread. They call it agege bread. It's very like succulent and soft, and they usually make it in the morning.
Kind of sweet or what?
It's kind of sweet, very sweet. You can like eat like 5 of those breads. You have to be careful because like it's so soft and so fluffy, and they usually make it early in the morning. And a lot of times the way, you know, you're in your house, so the way these like hawkers would announce themselves is
Yes.
like singing, or like they would just be like singing across the street, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like I gotta go get, you know,
Yeah.
the bread. So
Yeah.
you know, sound was such a big part of like just Lagos. Also the horns, the generators, like because
Yeah.
we don't have like 24 hours electricity, so a lot of people use generators. So in the morning you're introduced to so many sounds. So I think, yeah, so it's just kind of like, I feel like Lagos is just kind of the space whereby you kind of learn a lot from just like the environment, and maybe in a lot of ways too, maybe looping back to your initial question about
Yeah.
you know,
Calling it back.
yeah, is like how sound, I feel like the city itself is such an inspiration, like just to like live in Lagos.
Fully. Yo,
Fully.
you painted a whole
Yeah.
picture for us, fam, which
yeah.
is sick. And you brought me there, you know? Like,
yeah.
I felt I could see what you were experiencing and how you grew up. And also, like, visually speaking, I'm also thinking about your music video that I saw recently.
Oh, okay.
The one where it's Doyen.
Yeah.
How you almost gave up music, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, backtrack. So now we understand this is where you came from.
Yes.
This is what has shaped who sits in front of us now.
Yes.
What happened in between, fam? How did we get to like, I'm going to choose to pursue art and music and, you know, make this happen? What was your journey into coming here?
Yeah, no, yeah. I think, yeah, it's been like an up and down journey for me personally, mainly because I have like a lot of interests in like, you know, I'm also like an art director, and I think my journey, so I think music was always kind of like a hobby, I would say. You know, maybe now I can express it that way, but then I was like, you know, it was always a hobby. I would always do it because I was always around people who did it, and people would always call me, come freestyle, come rap or something. So that was something I was always doing when I was in high school. So I finished high school. I went to university. So high school.
Which was in Canada, right?
No, so I went to high school in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but
our
I mean
university.
university. Yeah.
I went to university in Nigeria. So, so I went to university, and when I went to university, I think I studied business for a bit, and I was like, I wasn't even thinking about music. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, do like, because initially when I finished high school, I was like the best like art student in my class, and they were like, I was like, oh, you know, I want to go do arts, but my family was like, oh, well, there's no money in arts. Like, I feel like it's the classic POC family, you know, like, I don't. I was like, you know what, that's fine. Like, I'll do something like more business. But when I was in school, I just like ended up just doing. I used to be part of a dance group. I used to do like, you know, I used to make music. I used to also do like, I learned design, so I used to do design stuff, and
like graphic
design. I used to do like party flyers for my friends, like party flyers, events in school, and I think maybe just going with that, as I was kind of moving on, I was like, oh, you know what? I really want to, like, this feels like the thing that I naturally enjoy doing. So then I started to meet more like-minded musical people in my school, and we're like, oh, you know what? We would like make fake, like just like playful songs for our friends in school, just to like hype people up in school. And they're like, oh yeah, you guys should make a thing. So when I was in school, I started a group called Trip City. We were like a group. It was me, Sukiyaki, and I had like a couple other guys too as well. And yeah, so we started making music. Then I decided to actually take music a bit more seriously. And I was like focused on it. Like, I would go for shows. We had like songs on radio, doing a bunch of things.
sick.
Yeah, so it was fun. But I think maybe for me, like, you know, then the question of Canada started to come into the picture of like, my brother was in Canada.
Oh,
and it was
okay.
like, oh,
In Toronto.
in Toronto.
Okay,
Yeah, my
nice.
brother's in Toronto. It's like, oh, you want to come to Toronto? And I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe. And I was like, I also wanted to also expand like what I wanted to do, like learn other skill sets in art, because I was like, oh, I liked so many things. I don't even know what I want to do. Yeah, so our group was on for a bit, and we just started to have some tension and some things, and we decided to like split up. And then I came to Canada. Then even then still like,
What did you study?
I studied multimedia. Yeah, so I came to do multimedia, just like the whole kind of field. So I moved to Canada. So then I was taking it seriously, but I don't know, like it felt very super competitive, like, and I feel like then I was maybe doing music for the wrong reasons. I was like doing it for like maybe to get girls and all those other things. So
Comes clean on the show.
well,
He comes clean on the show.
yeah.
It sounds like you've
That
evolved.
that was
It sounds
back
like
in the
you've
day.
evolved.
That was back in the
Yes.
day. I think I was just doing it for the wrong reasons. I would say I was, although like I found out like people liked me doing music and I felt like I was good at it, but I wasn't. I don't think I was aiming for like real goals. I was mainly just doing it for like immediate flash.
Totally.
Then I think I was just kind of doing it. Then I moved to Canada. Then even then, still I was still on the fence about it. I was like, I still love doing it. I was always writing music, writing things, ideas or song ideas, or having the feeling I could do it. But then I decided to focus more on my design side, my graphic side. So I would focus more on graphic design. I would write songs here and there, like maybe put out a song, but I wouldn't say like I was chasing it as a career. Then I focused on that. Then I decided to then go into like art direction for advertising. I finished like my diploma in Canada, and I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I really like art direction. Like, I want to make commercials because I think that was also something I was always fascinated about too, like making commercials and yeah, I started that world. I was in that world like for a bit, kind of chasing. But I don't know, like music was always something that would come up and I would always be doing and I would always kind of be around. And when I was in school, I was like performing. Or when I was in Toronto, I went to Humber College and I would, we had this black. I started this community thing called like the Black Association, and
Yeah.
we would bring. I started to meet more musicians too because we were like, "Hey, what's up? Let's jam, let's freestyle, let's do shows." So we started to do shows in the school, and more so also bringing light to like a lot of Africans and like the black community in the school then because we were like, oh, there are not a lot of avenues to cater for like our sound and like our kind of parties for us where we can like get starting to then like see hints of like Afrobeats, because people weren't really jamming Afrobeats in Canada in general. So it was kind of nice then,
It didn't make its way here yet.
Yeah, it wasn't there yet. So, but yeah. So then I think where the turning point came for me was and something, maybe looping back to something you said was the Doing song, which Doing was a dedication to my close friend of mine who passed away. His name was H Code, and he was kind of. I remember I used to take buses for like an hour just to go meet him in his studio, and he made me. I guess he made it more realistic for me to believe that I could do music because then
he
I
a
was.
producer?
He was a producer, also a singer and a musician, and he was just like, "Dope, bro! I really love what you're doing. Like, come to my studio." And he would like give me free sessions, and then he put on my group Trip City. We would go to his studio, and we would just like hang out. And I was like, "Oh, he made it more realistic for me to feel." And then his studio, he used to have like artists now, maybe in Afrobeats that are kind of really big right now. Like,
Wow.
maybe like there was times like through him, I was able to like meet Wizkid. I don't know if you know Wizkid. Yeah,
Yeah,
Wizkid was
yeah.
and like some of the bigger artists like Vector, who's like a big hip hop artist in Nigeria, and like
Sick.
people like that would come around him. There's also someone called Fowles. He used to come to his studio, and I was like, oh man, like these guys are popping off, and like I'm around them, and I was like, oh, so that was like the first glimpse of like, oh, but then I was like, oh, I don't know if I was just kind of discouraged by the whole industry and the business, and
Fully.
it felt like a lot of money and.
Yeah, it messes with your mind,
Yeah,
man. The
it was-
games, the hoops, the things you
hoops,
gotta
man.
do.
Yeah.
Like all the feelings that it brings up.
Yeah,
For sure. It's
you know.
hard navigating the music industry. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of artists talk about that. And when you're in that space, there's a lot of like feeling like you need to be something in that space, a persona or like, but meanwhile, everyone on the inside is feeling the exact same thing, which is
Exact
like,
same thing, yeah.
let's just play music so we can stop with this
Which is
awkward
true.
fronting,
Yeah, I guess there's this thing of this the struggling artist or the tormented artist thing, which is I feel like they try to, glamorize the media itself tries to glamorize like,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, yeah, all these artists is like, I think it's just like mainly I think where I transitioned was H Code passed away, and I feel like that really kind of, I kind of remembered like, oh man, that's the reason why I wanted to, just that time, like it felt like that was such a, we just wanted to we just wanted to make dope tracks and be like as good as like whoever was popping, So I think that was, I remember my buddy called me, and that's something I addressed in Doing the song. It kind of said, you know what, life's short. Like, if you love doing something, like, why not just like put your heart into it and push? And I was like, oh, you know what? And that just took a transition for me. I was like, and that was like 6 years ago. And I was like, you know what? Like, I was like, the first decision was like, I gotta be finishing music. I gotta not just have things in my notes and like voice notes and like all these things. I gotta finish music because like, you never know, how long we have in this beautiful time that we're sharing. And I was like, yeah, man, just gotta keep writing, gotta keep making music. And I think my idea changed. Before, it used to be about like, oh, I want to make music because I want to be like, the top, or I want to be seen as like someone who's whatever. But it changed. It's like, it became like, oh, you got to do it because it's essential for self-expression. Got to express your, say what you want to say. And
yeah, at this point, it's about just like being able to live as a human being and survive in this human existence. It's like, 100%. I just gotta make art, man.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I know at the end of the day, I think that for me, and obviously there's always been the back and forth as, being in Vancouver, thinking whatever. And as now, like, I'm starting to learn like obviously there's the going back and forth in your mind about, the pressures of like, oh, I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm not like as big. Oh, my shit is not popping. Oh, I don't have followers. Oh, I don't have all these things. Then, but I think I always try to down myself back on like, you know what? It's all about like expressing yourself and being able to say you want to say, and also like being able to, craft ideas as well as, or I feel like maybe artists or music I listen to and artists I absorb, art I absorb that has been so like life changing for me. I feel like, they made those things in a lot of ways as a gift to the world, like, and I think maybe it's part of our responsibility as humans to give our own gifts to the world as well, whatever it is. You don't have to have a million followers. Sometimes, just your homies who listens to your songs like, oh man, I connect with that shit. Like, and I think that's mainly my focus now, just like trying to express and obviously reach a level of mastery and craft at creating, so, and that was kind of the transition that like, okay. And I think for me to do that, I had to like say like, okay, now I want to focus on it as a career now. Like,
that's where we're at now.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is a career. Like, this is something I want to take seriously and I want to be, reach as far as possible.
Yes. And, it's working for you. I'm just going to be affirmation.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
A reflection back to you that it's working for you. I now it makes sense because when I was going through your YouTube, like, so much of the stuff you did art direction wise, which I also have the eye of appreciation for these things. I was like, yeah, his art direction's sick. And it's cool that you can take everything that you were interested in to now apply it into like maybe a more streamlined avenue instead of like, okay, I'm going to keep dabbling. It's like, I have this message, and I'm going to do it through music. And Like, I think if anything, especially here in Canada, other young artists who also come from the Nigerian diaspora or like born here can see somebody that like reflects them back at them, you know, through what they're seeing of you.
No, yeah.
Which is dope.
No, which is great. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's funny how these little things is like seeing like a young girl who sees like a black Barbie doll is like gives, you know, sometimes things, you know, the attainability, sometimes you need to see it in your environment to be like, oh, shit.
Yes.
Well, I can do it. My
You
bad.
give me so much to edit later,
I know.
fam.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know,
I
right?
need to update my vocab
Yeah.
so that I become more
How about sugar?
sugar.
Oh,
Yes,
sugar.
Oh, sugar. Yeah,
You
I
know?
apologize. Yeah.
That's okay. It's all good. It's just, you know, television. Yeah. Oh, I had a question I wanted to ask you, but I forgot. Hold on.
Sugar.
We were talking about sugar.
Sugar. I'm a honey kind of guy, though.
Oh, me too.
Honey.
Or
all the
maple
way.
syrup.
Maple syrup, clutch. Yeah. Very
Maple
Canadian of you.
Very Canadian.
Yeah,
It's a hot commodity, you know?
Hey, yo, on the pancakes though. Maple syrup hits though.
And now I remember my question. So I found out through the internet, because the internet's a great resource.
Internet.
It's a great tool.
Yeah.
It's also really annoying. But anyway, I saw an article written by Creative BC about how you're a recipient for their career development program.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm curious, what was your experience like? You know, especially being able to tap into the grants. Like, do you feel like it's been supportive to your development as an artist and actually stepping into your career?
Oh yeah, so much. I feel like Creative BC has been super helpful. I've been able to receive the grant twice now.
Okay.
And yeah, I feel like that definitely changed up like even like professionalism from before I got it for the first time. I applied 2 times before and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I think just even the act of getting ready for it, like the questions you have to answer, like, oh, what are your goals? What do you need to do? How do you need to budget? You start to see yourself like, oh, I'm a business. Like it opens your entrepreneurial mind a lot more. And I think just that's the initial process, like getting your eggs together. Like, okay, these are all the things I need to do to try to get this grant. Like I need to sit down, have my goals, have a projection, that I feel like that in itself gears you as an artist. I think sometimes maybe because of art can be so informal, so we come to a space like, oh, we don't need to write all our goals or do all these things. But I think, that's something I feel like every artist should do, or every human, just generally.
Yeah.
So I think coming from that process, then actually being able to be one of the recipients, you know what I mean? And like, I remember the first time I got it, I got so emotional. I was like, oh man, someone would actually give me money to make something, you know what I mean? I was like,
Yes.
I mean, it also like is encouraging. Like there's just the encouragement of like, oh, okay, I have to do, I got to do it. I remember the first one, like I was so paranoid, like when I got the first funding, I was able to make my like first music video. That was Mastery, and I directed that video myself. And I feel like the process too of being able to make the video, like
That
getting the
video's sick, by the
resources.
way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. Getting the resources, finding a cinematographer, set, like styling, all these kind of things. Like, it was such a great process, and I think it definitely developed me as an artist. And from there, I was able to go into like the doing video, and I think it just also leveled up, like, just trying to exposure to people, because people will see the video, and through the video, maybe they'll be able to go to my Spotify, stream the songs, and all these kind of things. So that in itself. Then there's also the after effect of the grant, which is like, you then need to like account for all the money you spent. You report that. And that also brings the accountability part of it. It's like, okay, like, because sometimes I feel like I'm sometimes just spend money, just like as a musician, like, oh, I have to go do this. But then you're like, account for all these things. So I think it teaches a lot. And so for your question, yes, I think it's been very positive, for me personally. And anyone who I would say who's trying to go into career, I think definitely should try to apply for grants in the process, because sometimes I've seen some people say like, oh, I don't know, maybe they're not giving grants to my community, or like, I don't know, it's like, it feels like a lot of work, or I don't have the funding, because sometimes too, to get the funding, you have to show like you have a percentage of money to,
Invest in yourself.
So, but yeah, I think I definitely encourage anyone to try to do it. Even the process of trying to do it, even if you don't get it, I think it gives you a lot of insight of like, okay, this is maybe where I want to focus on,
How
so.
did you get into it? Did someone show you, or did you learn from someone
Actually,
else?
I feel like a big part of the grant process, who was really helpful for me, was Nancy for Chapel Sound.
We love Nancy.
Shout out to Nancy. Shout out to Nancy.
Yeah.
Nancy was definitely a big part of, because I'd applied for it individually before, maybe my first year, the second year to apply for, I didn't get it. But, Nancy does these workshops, and just, kind of being a friend, and her just kind of, I did a sit down with her, like, you've gotten a lot of grants, you're in the system, like, how did you do it? And just getting that info of her, like, trying to educate me on it, I was like, oh, okay, it clicked. So I maybe myself maybe had done it, but I think, after talking to Nancy and getting her perspective on it, and maybe getting exposed to people she also introduced me to, I was like, oh, you know what, like, I get maybe why I didn't get the grant before.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
It's a language, and I think they've also received the feedback over the years as well of like needing to be more accessible in certain ways. There are barriers, especially for certain communities, to not be able to access this because of this learning curve.
Yeah.
And so actually with a lot of grants, they offer within the grant like special assistance
Sure.
in being able to apply, where someone can help you,
No.
which is cool.
No,
Yeah,
I agree.
it's also taken me a couple years to move through and learn kind of how, even just knowing what grants are there, what they can be used for, and then like, the process of applying.
Yeah.
But I'm glad, like, that's cool to hear that it's taught you a lot about how to even just like professionally organize yourself as an artist,
100%.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, I know. Just get that feeling of like, oh, okay, I'm a business. Like, we need to move that way. Accountability, like, I'm not great with accounting stuff, but like with this, it's kind of forced me to like, if you want money, you have to show that you can use the money properly, and manage the money, and so
Cool.
yeah, it's been great. Yeah, shout out to Creative BC. And true, I see, also maybe like I've also been part of sessions and see like they are taking steps for reconciliation, because I've seen like some people have mentioned that, and trying to be open to more communities, especially after like 2020 and the pandemic. And I feel like it's great because a lot of these companies started to check themselves, like, yo,
they're getting called out.
Yo, we gotta do our diversity quota now. Oh yeah. So so.
But also, like, let's not just fill the quota. We're not boxes to check,
Which is true.
It's also like it's a way of framing and seeing.
True.
All of us have to do that in our own ways, in the ways that we might be like having subconscious bias.
Yeah. No, true. Yeah. Not to bring up, like, I feel like even with me, like coming to Canada, like with like the Aboriginal and the Indigenous community, I feel like I didn't really know or understand the plight.
They don't tell you that.
They don't tell you that. You're just like, oh, it's like, oh, there are people here who are like suppressed and they owned the land before. It's like, that's something because it's painted, but also like, also I encourage people to do their own kind of work. I think for a while, like, I didn't understand why people did it at land acknowledgements. I was like, what is it? But then, staying here for a while, then I started to, do some like courses and started to have more friends who like are Aboriginal. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh man, I mean, I would feel some type of way if I was if I owned a land, someone came, took me off it, and, there's no ownership. And also like the generational trauma they've kind of been through and suppression. So a lot of ways, just enlightenment changes perspective on things. Yeah.
It's interesting to learn about that as you travel and experience other places in the world, and also seeing their colonial histories. I think some things that I've learned a lot about the indigenous elders here is just like how important it is for us to understand that as settlers, also like do your history and research of your own, where you've come from and what has taken place on your land. Because I think in understanding that of what has taken place in the Philippines, for example, it's allowed me to connect more with what has taken place here. So yeah, it's a really cool time that we're in where
how is not to in the Philippines when it comes to colonialism and traditional forms of worship. I know and I know you said you're from like a more Catholic Christian background. I'm curious about, maybe that's something I've not heard someone talk about before, is the Philippines and the traditional before the colonialists. Yeah.
Well, it's a big one.
Discussion.
It's a big discussion. But Cole's notes is that Philippines is made up of 7,100 islands plus, it's a lot of islands. It's an archipelago. But archipelago, which is like a collection of many islands.
Archipelago. I've never heard that word.
Yeah, Indonesia is part of an archipelago as well. They all continue, but essentially, the Philippines was colonized and created by the Spaniards, by the Spanish, around the 1500s to the 1800s. We were colonized by Spain, but the people who were on that land before were the Austronesian, Bahasa-speaking peoples, like Malay, it's pretty much like another term to categorize like a group of people who share like language and genetic kind of base. And so the Spaniards mixed with who was there at that time. And as you can imagine, all these islands are super diverse. So it's not just one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like these are different tribes and communities. And then drew a line and was like, we're going to name this after King Philip of Spain. And we're going to call this place the Philippines, Las Filipinas. And we're going to call these people Filipinos.
Oh,
That's
crazy.
me. So I'm like a byproduct of that. I've got the mix of the Spanish and the indigenous Malay, probably also Chinese. Like it's been a mix. So many cultures have passed through those islands. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the class I just got.
Yeah.
Yo, that's
Cole's
good.
notes.
I like that.
But,
Hopefully, maybe after too. I wouldn't mind hearing more about it.
For sure. Yeah. I'm preparing for a trip to go there soon. So the feelings of motherland.
Oh man, that's cool. Yeah, Ron, who's also part of the tribe, is from the Philippines.
Speaking of tribe, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. Like, tell me the formation of this cool collective of humans.
The squad.
I felt it like the moment I walked into that house party. I was like, and especially the jam room. I'm like, oh, you're like gang, like y'all are a crew and you have a vibe. It's cute.
It's the team. Yeah, we're just trying to grow together and just like improve and.
Don't even. We're just trying to grow together.
Yeah, no, real talk.
We're just supporting each other with all the art we make.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was hard for me before. I think, I definitely encourage like artists just generally to try to find their own communities.
Yeah, because I read in an article, the Poster Boy one, great article. Lucy, you said, wrote it.
Yes, yeah.
Where you had said in that article, like, you struggled at first when you moved here.
Yeah, 100%.
Like to connect and find community.
Yes, so much. Yeah, it was hard to. It was hard to, and I think people always. Vancouver has the no fun city vibe it comes with. So I think
don't know who started that, but I don't agree. But maybe sometimes.
Well, sometimes I can kind of see why, especially for people who are like immigrants and just kind of new to the city. They don't have like a anchor in the city. Mainly because of like, it's kind of maybe just generally it was just hard to connect with people, and I think gradually I just started to meet more people who are like-minded. I think one of the first people I met was Omo, who's a bass player.
Oh yeah.
And we met each other through Sad China. Sunny.
Oh, Sunny.
Yeah, we met through Sunny. I met Sunny first, then Sunny introduced me to Omo. Then from Omo, I was just like, I finished a project called I Pharaoh, and I was like, oh, I actually wanna I would like to perform it live, but I don't know how to do it. And Omo then was in school. It's like, oh, I know a couple of musicians who could do it. Then he introduced me to Ron, who's keys player, also Filipino, amazing producer, sound engineer. He's pretty much a multi-platinum selling producer.
Wow.
Because he also produces for other artists as well. So then I was also introduced to Matt. Matt, who's also a co-owner of this studio we're in. He's a amazing guitar player, also a producer, sound engineer. Does live sound. He's great as well. Then after meeting, so that was how it kind of started. Initially, we had a different drummer. Then Arthur became a part of the gang, like I think a year and a half or 2 years after. Arthur is amazing on drums. He freaking kills it. He's also a producer as well, trying to get into his own craft. Then from there, I kind of had my band Tribe, but then I met Bo Henrik.
Yeah.
So Bo had
Beautiful
his
voice.
Yes, yeah, amazing. Yeah, he's also Bo's amazing musician. He's multi-instrumentalist as well, and he plays like producer, sound. He went to school here for music. So I met him. So initially, he had his own thing called Supermarket Social. But we noticed that we had like similar people. Like Omo was in his band, like, and gradually, the more we started to hang out together, the more like more of my band members started to play in his band, and we started to hang out more and more. Then it just kind of organically kind of grew, whereby we started doing more music together and hanging out together. So it was like, oh, you know what? Like, what if like we kind of merged things a bit more to come a bit closer. So in my band, maybe I've had people who have come in and come out, like, Naid, amazing singer. She used to help with like backups. Stephanie too was on the band too. She was pretty great. I had John, who used to play drums before. Then Abby, who's currently our singer as well in the band. Then as we started to evolve, then we just like, oh, you know what? We have the same band members. Like, we're trying to grow together. What if we just like took the Tribe, it's Super from Super Mario, just like Super Tribe, and let's just start from there. And yeah, so
Tribe became Super Tribe.
Yeah, Super
I
Tribe.
love that.
It kind of evolved into Super Tribe. We're like, oh, yeah, I was like, actually, it's a good idea. Let's do it. Then yeah, I guess we just started like, having like, talking about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to have goals. I guess the way we kind of see ourselves is like more so like, maybe the way Odd Future was in some kind of ways, in the way like we have all these like different artists who are doing their own thing, but we come together and do things together, So right now is, I would say, pretty young. We've maybe just like consolidated things like in the past like 5-6 months.
That's amazing.
So and we're like, oh, okay, you know what, this works, and now we have like, making plans together and like try to build together. And we have like this studio. We also have the studio in our house, and also, how would I say, Juan, who is also, I met through Bo, who's our conga player, who's also a producer as well, who's also part of, and Mexican, who is also part of the clique. And him I met later on. And yeah, so I think now the core part of Super Tribe is me, Bo, Matt, Ron, Omo, Arthur, Kwan. So just pretty much us, right now. So, and yeah, we're just like, the other thing too, we found out like we have our own individual music careers and trying to build as musicians and artists. We also like do events as well. Like last year we produced like three or four events. We did like the pillow fight at the Fox. We had like we brought pillows and we got people to fight pillow fights. It was fun. We're planning to do one this year again.
Feathers are flying?
Yeah, we tried to make sure, because we did it at the Fox. They're like, no feathers, so we made sure like the no flying feathers. But there were a bunch of pillows. People were like after the show.
Oh my gosh.
Then we also did Lore, which was, we paired up like, it was kind of like a jazzy kind of show. And R&B, like a sensual night. We got like local pole dancers that are amazing in the community, and also like amazing artists as well that are part of like our friends group. And we hosted this show, which was amazing as well. So we're like, okay, you know what? Maybe we can keep doing events, and yeah. So that's kind of maybe where we are right now.
I saw pictures and a recap video of that on the IG, and that looked really cool. Like a really interesting concept to pair them with live musicians and to freestyle and create. Like I love seeing the mixing of different creative and artist communities and disciplines.
Yeah.
And just seeing like how do we like co-create or play or make something new. It's super experimental.
Yeah, I think super much vibe. Then we also have tribe sessions, which is more our like community thing. I had to plug tribe sessions because that's something we're trying to build more.
Which is?
So tribe sessions is pretty much, the tribe is 3 in tribe, which is kind of like a communing of the 3 main disciplines of, no, I wouldn't say main because everyone, 3 disciplines of art, which is like music, visual arts, and dance.
Right.
So we wanted to create a jam whereby all these 3 things can happen at the same time, but in a way that dancers can try to sing and like singers can try to dance. Because at the end of the day, so at the end of the day, it's like, we've come to I think now I'm starting to see myself as a multidisciplinary artist, and I think that's kind of one of my, goals. Initially, I'm like, I like art stuff, I like music, but I'm like, so now I'm like really like trying to
own it.
It's like, that's kind of my thing. It's like doing all these different things. So, and I feel like a lot of people do it too as well in like the community, because of like naturally like people do their own cover art, and dancers somewhat like edit their own music for their dance thing. So, but it would also be nice if more in the community there's more cross pollination of disciplines and So so that's something else I'm doing again with Alyssa, Rhythm, Rhea, and Bo, and that's another thing. So there's like sub things that we're trying to make more like community, like let's hang out, let's jam together.
I love that. It's like I get a really nice breath of fresh air from like what you and your friends and your community are creating. As like within arts and culture, I feel like each city goes through its waves, of like this new wave on the come up of like what people are creating and doing and creating a vibrancy essentially, and then it transitions and new waves emerge.
New waves, that's it.
And I feel like I've witnessed some different waves in Vancouver's timeline in the last decade, but it's cool to see the wave that you're on and you're building, bro.
No, thank you,
That's
man.
tight.
Thank you, man. And I think that's the thing, true, that because we're making waves for like who else is gonna come, and I think that's like that's the. Because, and I think, obviously people like Nancy and like seeing what Nancy does with her community work and, you like, I mean, you can't help but be inspired. You're like, oh, shit.
All these
sugar,
pockets. Oh,
sugar. Oh my God. My mom is not going to like this at all.
That's so funny. Sidebar, quick jump back note. The reason why this is like more like political history.
Oh, okay.
Why I was stoked on why Juan is Mexican, like that wasn't just a random like, and he's Mexican. It's because Mexicans are literally like our cousins in the Philippines. We were colonized by Spain at the same time. So in those 300 years, they figured out a route that went across the Pacific Ocean, which was nuts. Like it's like such a far distance, and they had to follow a very specific current on a very specific timeline, and they traded. Like Mexicans literally came over to the Philippines and vice versa.
Interesting.
So I feel like after having been in Mexico for a while, I feel like an affinity where I'm like, we're really cousins, fam.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know
Quick
that.
sidebar.
No, please. Yes, enlighten us with nutrients of history. Yeah.
But that's cool. Okay, so now back to Tribe.
Yes.
That's really cool to see that that's forming. And when I was at your house, I also like that you talked about goals and stuff because, your party was in the space and I'm just like seeing, equipment and like creative stuff. And then on the wall, I'm seeing these goals and I'm like, say word, like these are people who are creating something and something's going on, and I feel like I got like an inside look into what y'all are brewing. I'm curious to know, especially everything that you've learned up until this point, like do you have any sort of like rituals or like how do you get yourself prepared every day to like combat the mind and just like make art. You know? Do you have anything that you've developed or?
Yeah, I think now there's something I've been experimenting with, which is something I think I was always doing. I feel like my main ritual, I would say, is kind of maybe journaling, waking up journaling, like just like expressing, getting like all these things out of my body. But I think I started. I think the last 2-3 years I've been doing like dynamic meditation, which is a form of like meditation, which compared to like transcendental and some of the other forms of meditation that are a bit more like, you know, you sit down, you're in yourself. You know, dynamic is a bit more like.
What do you do?
5. So there are 5 steps. I wouldn't say I'm the best person to educate anyone, and I know like the style of meditation comes with its own controversy. But my own take on it, there are 5 phases of it. The first phase, I don't know the exact name, so don't quote me. The first phase of it, if you see someone doing it, it might seem a bit kind of weird, I would say. But the first phase of it is where you is heavy breathing through the nose. You just breathe in only through your nose.
Fast.
You exhale fast. You exhale. You oxygenate your brain and your body.
Okay.
And you can do that. You know, you start with that. From there, you move into the catharsis, whereby you express your body and your mind, and you could like hit something, or you can shake your body. Just like if you have like, because a lot of times trauma is sometimes in the body, but some people think, you know, it's just in the mind, so you express yourself. From there, we have the moment whereby you hop on a spot, just like hop on a spot. Then the 4th time you stop and you allow the calmness. You just stop. Then the last phase is gratitude. You flow with gratitude. You move in gratitude. And you just like thankfulness. That's the last phase. So I initially started that. Then I think it evolved now to maybe something I do personally, to do as almost like a multidisciplinary jam ritual. I don't do it every day, but I do it like maybe like 2-3 times a week. Is whereby you, and I encourage people to do it too as well. It's like basically very similar. You, whatever disciplines you do or you do indulge in, you someone like me, I think my things are dance, music, and visual arts. So it starts with the first part of it, which is the stretch. You start with your stretch. You could do this segmented into like 10 minutes sections, or 5 minutes or 2 minutes, depending on. So you start with the initial one, which is, so I usually try to do like 10 to 15 minutes. So you start with the stretch. You just kind of stretch your body, like, and listen to your body. A lot of times, like, I feel like with stretching, some people just like follow yoga stretches, but sometimes, you know, feel your, like, you know,
let your body tell you what.
Yeah, let your body tell you. Today you just want to like sit down and wiggle your toes, or like, you know. So you stretch. After you do the stretch, then you dance. Just play music, just express your body with dance. Then from there, you move into the journaling and visual arts. Then you just like write, draw, sketch, just like express yourself. Like, don't like, sometimes I do approach it with an intention. Like yesterday, or the day before, I saw the Cat Williams meme, and I was like, oh, you know what? This is something I want to draw. So
what's the Cat Williams meme?
I guess everyone knows the whole Cat Williams, you know, interview. Oh no! So Cat Williams started the year with an interview where he like calls out and like a bunch of comedians and a couple people, and he's like unfiltered. So and I guess it became kind of viral.
Just blew up.
It just blew up because he's like super like. Not filtered at all, and he says like some intense things.
Oh my god!
So yeah, and I enjoy, exactly.
Yeah.
And I like Cat Williams as a comedian. So I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do something. So that was the intention. Then moving from the drawing kind of thing, then I move into like a rap slash rap slash like music session. Like it could be like a lot of times I have all these like freestyle voice notes and I have it on my phone, so I just like maybe go to one of them and listen to it, or just like try to write rhymes and stuff. Then then it kind of ends with just thankfulness,
Gratitude.
Yeah,
So all of this will take place in what, an hour?
It could be an hour. It could be
Okay,
an
like
hour.
you could rapid fire do these things,
But you could do
or
it.
you could stretch them out.
You could stretch them out. It depends on like one time I was so busy I just did it in like 3 minutes each.
Wow.
Each section, and
Yeah.
the goal would be like just do it, move on to the next thing. Because
Yes.
sometimes like when I'm drawing, I'm so in the flow of drawing, and sometimes you have to allow yourself depending on your mood and how you feel. So you're like when I did it on Sunday, on Saturday, like I was drawing, but I didn't end up going into the music part of it because I just ended up spending the whole time drawing something.
Yeah.
But again, you gotta allow yourself to be okay with that. Then I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do music stuff later. So it's almost like also flexibility with yourself, kind of thing. And I guess one of my goals is to try to be consistent with that. So it's nice to talk about it. So I want to try to be consistent and just like enjoying the flow. And I would say like anybody who has different crafts, let's say depending on what you like to do, read or whatever, it's just like finding the time to do a segment of those things, But I encourage the dance part of it though, because I feel like expression of body is so important.
Totally.
And the gratitude part, so.
I like this. I like that you got to share this, because I also have had like different versions of this, but I've never tried doing a bunch of them in like a certain amount of time. And that there's like a lot of fun with sometimes when you put a time limit or like a constraint, there's a lot of creativity and also creative energy that emerges from being like, I have 3 minutes to just write a rhyme. Like, let me just do this,
Yeah, no, it does.
My thing is, but I'm going to try that. I'm actually going to
Please
try
it.
And I'll let you know how it goes.
Let me know.
Yeah.
I'm actually,
So a few of my things that I do is like, sometimes when I wake up first thing in the morning, I need to just be outside. Like I will go and I would just go for a walk, and I'll walk the hood and I'll turn left where I feel like turning left, right where I feel like turning right, like just feeling the vibe. But then I also like to listen to podcasts that are specifically like spiritual books, like Pema Chodron, who's like a Buddhist teacher, or like Michael Singer, or like a bunch of other people, Emmanuel something. Anyway, they just like, they remind me like, oh yeah, I'm a spiritual being in a human body, and I'm here having a human experience before I get caught up in like turning on my phone, and reading emails and be like, it's just an email, fam. It's
true. I know. I've actually, I think that's something.
Ground you back
It's
here.
so good, man. That's such a good thing. Yeah, I feel like, I've also been trying to do that as well. Like the act of like, and there's something about it, like, because sometimes I feel like I fall back into my snooze state when I'm like, oh man, I have to shower, I have to do this. But when you're like, oh, I just want to go outside the house. Like the mission is to wake up and go outside.
Yes.
And from there, then you are walking, then you're like, oh, okay, these are the things I need to do. Like your brain starts to like remember all these things. Like, oh, okay, this is, and it's great pairing that with like such spiritual like messages, already, I mean, even before you grab your phone, you're already in your state.
Yeah.
You're already in yourself. You're like, I'm good. Like, I don't, because I have I'm trying to maybe get an alarm clock.
So you don't have to rely on your phone,
I know, because like
Fully,
I feel like that's my next move, or I need to do.
Let's go
get an alarm clock.
Thrift store shopping for an alarm clock.
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I want an alarm clock, so I'll put my phone downstairs. Yeah. My alarm is there. Wake up with the alarm. Then
Jamal
go
does
for
that
a walk.
actually. He has that. Yeah.
That's a good one. I know. I heard someone talk about it. Like, I think it was Grace. One of my friends. She's a dancer. She was talking about that. I was like, oh, that's so good. Yes. Why don't I do that? Like, yeah. I think because I have systems with my phone and my alarm. I use this alarm. It's called Alarmy, and you have to. I mean, you have to use the alarm.
Yeah.
You can have different missions. So you can do math problems. You can do like, tile box problems. So, you have to maybe, so a lot of times when I wake up in the morning, I have to like solve like 3 math problems.
Before you can turn
Before
on
I
your phone.
turn off the alarm. Yeah.
Yeah,
before I turn off the alarm. So the alarm, naturally you can just snooze an alarm, but
oh
you don't
my
snooze.
gosh,
Yeah.
that is
So in case you're looking for an
annoying.
alarm clock, alarm app to use, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but you're like groggy, just like I'm not ready to leave that dream now. I have to do 5 plus 6
Yeah, I know. I'm
minus 4
like,
divided by 2.
I'm
like
I know.
what?
I'm like, yeah. Then,
Yeah.
but I think actually, so I guess the science is like, once your brain, you kind of need
You're
something to
awake
just,
now,
yeah, to get your brain
basically.
active. A lot of times too, I do it and go back to bed.
Yeah.
But I feel like just from doing it,
Quick math problem
yeah,
before I go back to
I
bed.
feel like just from doing it, I'm like, I feel like I'm already slightly awake more. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And also, there's also the dopamine from it too.
Yeah.
Just from
You're
like,
yes, I
oh, I
answered
did
it
a
correctly.
math problem. I'm good. Yeah, like, I've done something today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, oh
So,
my gosh,
yeah.
honestly, we could talk on forever and ever.
Yeah, true. No
Yo,
lie. No
it's-
lie.
we've-
no
we've
lie.
done an hour.
Yeah, I know, and it just went by too. We're just like vibing. Yeah.
Yo, thank
Yeah.
you so much for making time
Thank
on
you.
this show.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
If there's, one last thing that you feel like you want to say
Yeah.
to the good, beautiful people who've
Yes.
been tuning in.
Maybe
more so about like, what's next? Where are you headed? What's 2024 on the horizon? What are you excited about?
Oof.
Short form. Or in
Nostalgia.
intention. Oh.
Nostalgia. I mistakenly dropped my EP, Nostalgia.
What do you mean you mistaken?
I scheduled it on the wrong date.
Okay.
So I made this EP that I've been working on for like 2.5 years.
Okay.
And I put it online and I scheduled it for the wrong date. And I just woke up one day like, dude, like your project is on Spotify. I'm like,
Oh my gosh! Wait, but what's the difference between when you were planning to release it?
so I guess I was planning out a rollout thing. Like
Yeah.
I was,
For when?
so I wanted to release it in February.
And it came out in December.
Yeah, I don't know, no promo, just like out. I'm like, and I think from it, also, you know what? I think maybe it was good. I started to have some anxiety about like releasing it because I initially was trying to get like a label to help push it and like get distro, and all that didn't work out. And I just sat with it for a while. And I'm like, maybe I just started to feel a bit discouraged about it, and I was just like, oh shit, it's out now. It did take. It was interesting. It took some weight. I haven't. So my goal is to try to promote that album more and like go listen to it.
I have listened to it. Back to back.
Oh,
it's
shit.
good.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
it includes the track that we were talking about. That
It
has
includes
the
the
music
track,
video.
yeah, the during
and the
track.
artwork looks sick too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that's
that.
actually hilarious.
Yeah,
and
I
a
know.
blessing in disguise
I
in
know.
a way.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. You know what? I'm glad it's out now. I've been trying to post about it, but I feel like every time.
You should just tell people that. You'd be like, you
Yeah.
know what? Forget the rollout plan.
Yeah, forget it.
Forget like the backup distribution. Here it is. Here's my art. Love it or leave it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm
know?
like every time I try to post about it, I just get a wall. It's just like I don't know, but yeah, maybe I'll post this video. So
Yeah, I think it's hilarious, and
I know,
also like
yeah.
maybe it had to teach you something.
I think so. Sometimes you just need to roll the dice. Just like I think
Yeah.
I was overthinking. I'm like I wanted to come out like in like I want to do a video.
Yeah.
I'm currently working on a video, which is the second thing, which is Tipsy Love, one of the songs. So I was planning to have the video, drop the video, launch the project, like do rollout, maybe do a release party. Like that was kind of the goal. But it came out too. Every time I would do it, I would be pushing the date.
Yeah.
And it's out now. And now, I mean, yeah.
We literally had a conversation earlier today
Yeah.
with Eros Taylor. You know
Eros
about him?
Taylor, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and
yes.
he had said, he released a project called Underthinking because he didn't want to be overthinking it.
That's
and he
good.
he didn't promo, he didn't tell people. He's just like, exactly the process that you went through, he went through and was just like, I just got to release it. And who's
True,
to say
man.
you can't do all of this stuff in reverse?
It was true. No, true. And I think I'm learning too. I think one of my issues was always trying to overthink. Like, I think now my goal is to make more music and less about like the perfect promo plan or the perfect whatever. Because I feel like a lot of times I just get disappointed by the whole process. But my goal is that I do want to, like my goal is I want to win a Grammy, and I feel like to get to that level,
Have goals.
yeah, I wanna be able to. I think I need to make a ton of projects, and not be like overthinking like, oh, it has to be the best rollout.
So maybe the inquiry for 2024, bruv, is like, how do we make this process fun again? How do we bring the joy and the playfulness back into it, so that like the monkey mind that goes like it even just
I love that. That's it. Just make your shit, get it out there.
Make your sugar. So much editing has to do.
Oh my God.
Yo,
I'm so sorry.
One last thing. Why the name? This I want to know.
Ade is my name.
Yes.
My first name is Adedoyin, which means, and that's what I say on the project, which is Doyin. Ade means crown in Yoruba, and Doyin means honey. It means your rain will be sweet. So I took Ade and Wolf, I guess spirit animal in some ways. I'm like a loner, but like I have my pack. So it's like, that's pretty much it.
Oh, thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah,
it was
thank
so
you.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Yes.
Vibes Cartel.
Vibes Cartel. Which I have seen in Jamaica, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
When he was releasing his vodka, he had a vodka release party, and I just was there. I don't know how I ended up. It was in Kingston.
Yeah, that is an icon.
We'll like Kiki and chat about that afterwards.
Okay.
But anyways, yo, where can people find you on the internets?
Pon the internet. Adewolfy, Adewolfy is with a Wolfie. I couldn't get the wolf. At Adewolfy on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. I don't really do.
And you can find him as Adewolf on Instagram, or Spotify as well.
Spotify, yes, that good space. And Adewolf.com. I want to start plugging my website.
There you go.
Adewolf.com.
Yes.
Check it out.
Shout outs to everybody who's tuned in, who's watching the replay after. My name is Kazi. This is a jazzy production, and I've been sitting with the #1 Adewolf. Thank you. This has been Vancity Beats, Eats, and More.